Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. On behalf of ISKCON Niagara Falls, I would like to welcome each one of you. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our Gaudiya Acharyas, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. So today our program is as follows. After the introduction and the announcements, His Grace Vaishnava Dasa Prabhu will be giving today's discourse. And the topic is Introduction to Bhagavad Gita, very befitting the occasion, which is Gita Jayanti that just happened yesterday. So His Grace Vaishnava Dasa Prabhu was born in Durban, South Africa, and he is a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami. He became attracted to Krishna consciousness about over 30 years ago, and together with his wonderful family launched the first Sunday school in the Toronto area, in the ISKCON Toronto. He also assisted with the opening of ISKCON Brampton and has conducted many courses towards Bhakti Shastri degrees. Presently, he is serving as president of ISKCON Niagara Falls, a director, and also a council member. So, in a few minutes after a quick announcement, I would like to welcome His Grace Vaishnava Dasa Prabhu. There's just one quick announcement. Next Saturday is the disappearance day. Again, next Saturday is the disappearance day of our dear Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's Gurudev. So all Vaishnavas who are devoted to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, they will be fasting until 12 noon. So please fast until 12 noon in honor of our Acharya Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is our dear beloved Gurudev of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. And we seek his blessings. We seek the blessings of the Gaudiya Parampara, especially on the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, his blessings for our spiritual well-being and progress. So without further ado, I would like to ask His Grace Vaishnava Dasa Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, and dear Satyat Prabhu, thank you very much for those kind words, and also to So 2020 is about to depart, and for a lot of people 2020 may have been a great year. You could have purchased a new home, a new car, you could have had your children enter into university or qualify in the different subject matters. You could have made a lot of money on the stock market. You could have done wonderful things in 2020. But there's the other half of society that probably didn't have it so good. And the COVID pandemic didn't help. We were introduced to a new normal type of lifestyle. Some people lost their lives, and some people have relatives and friends that are really having a hard time trying to survive the COVID in the hospital. And to all of them, we pray to the Lord for all of them to bring comfort to all these families. This week, as Satyat Prabhu said, was an amazing week, because yesterday we had the appearance of Lord Jesus Christ. And that's such a blessing for the world, with such a great personality appearing on the scene to bring so much of relief to the distressed families. But at the same time, we also had the advent of the Bhagavad Gita that was spoken over 5,000 years ago, and at a previous time prior to that, over 120,400,000 years ago. And also yesterday was another special day. It was known as the Mokshada Ekadasi. And on this day, most devotees fast from grains, beans, etc., in the hope that they will not take birth again in this material cosmos. In South India, this Ekadasi is known as the Vaikuntha Ekadasi or Vaikuntha Ekadasi. And some people, on this particular Ekadasi, they observe a vow of silence for the entire day. So that was a very, very nice week with so much of auspicious events going on. And hopefully it'll set the scene for next year and we can all survive this COVID and all the onslaughts of COVID's negative results. So I'm going to get into the Bhagavad Gita, but we are not going to discuss the entire Bhagavad Gita. We're going to just look at certain portions of the Bhagavad Gita that may appeal to you. Om Agyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurulmitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. I was born in darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. So most people will ask, well, what has Bhagavad Gita got to do in the year 2020? We are living in one of the most highly advanced technological times. People have amassed great fortunes and great medical advances have come on the scene, and people seem quite happy. So the question is, why do we need this element of spirituality in our lives? Like, what can it do more for us than what we already have? Well, that success story is only part of the story. In the Vedas, this time is declared as the age of Kali, the age of quarrel. In this time, throughout the world, morality is at its low. People have low character. There's lack of respect. Children do not have the kind of respect that they had in ancient times or previous ages. There's climate change. Food has become so toxic. Nations are attacking nations. Crime and drug abuse are on the rise. And never before we have so much of mental problems like we experience today. And so many people are very, very lonely. There's diseases, Ebola, SARS, AIDS, cancer, COVID, poverty, hunger, like never before. High tech has replaced high thinking. So then we may ask now, is the Bhagavad Gita relevant? Because we can see that no matter how much wealth nations have amassed and how much of high technology has come onto the scene, it has not solved all the problems of life, like birth, old age, disease, and death. So the Bhagavad Gita is the Lord's expression of his unlimited mercy upon the conditioned souls. He has come to speak this wonderful song, sing this wonderful song, to prevent the world from declining into further chaos and misery. So the big question in society today is, if I ascribe to this religious teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, well, what's in it for me? The big question is, and what's in it for me is the biggest motivator for any type of action. Everybody wants to get some benefit if they had to perform some kind of action. Well, I can tell you that if you follow the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, there'll be something not in it for you. Not what's in it for you, but something not in it for you. There won't be birth, there won't be old age, there won't be disease, and there won't be death. So that's what's not going to be in it for you. Later on in the class today, we'll share, well, what's going to be in it for you. Now let's take a look at birth. Many of us have forgotten our experience of birth. For 9 months, we were in one of the most confined places ever. And guess what? We were right close by stool, urine, and fiery gastric juices. And we were subjected to all the mother's likes and dislikes with regards to food, with regards to beverages, and we are subject to all that horrific conditions within the womb. The worst, worms surround us in the womb, but we forget. So that's what's not in it for you if you follow the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, old age. Today, billions and billions of dollars are spent on people trying to maintain their youth. There's all kinds of facelifts and body transformational procedures that will try to make you look younger. But you cannot overcome that. Some people who have taken to these procedures, they look worse than before the procedures. You can go on the internet and look at some of the people's bloated lips and disfigured noses and all kinds of deformities. And yet they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have these procedures just to look better. So that's what's not going to be in it for you if you take to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Now there's disease. We know about Ebola, we know about SARS, we know about cancer, we know about COVID. And guess what? We do not see the disease conditions of thousands and thousands of people because we live outside the hospitals and outside the care facilities. And all we see on a day-to-day life are good-looking people, healthy people. But all you need to do is to spend a day in a hospital and you'll know what disease is like. You'll see the pitiful condition of people suffering, gasping for breath, waiting for organs, organ donations, trying to get a kidney replacement, a liver replacement. So there's a ton of disease out there that we don't see. And we pray for all those people that are in a disease condition right now. And hopefully the Lord may spare you and take you out of your misery. So that's what you won't get if you take to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And finally, death. Death is a blessing in some way to put an end to the excruciating pain somebody may be undergoing. But most people are afraid of death. They are simply afraid of death because they do not know what to expect. They are afraid of death because they will be separated from the family. They'll be separated from the relatives. They'll be separated from the wealth. And they just got no idea as to what the destination is. Because they don't have this knowledge of where they are going to, they are simply terrified of death. And guess what? That is what you will not have if you take to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avatino Arjuna. He says that all places from the highest planet of Lord Brahma down to the lowest planet are all places of repeated birth and death. But to those Mam Upetya tu Kunteya Punarjanma na Vidyate. But to those who take to these teachings of mine and Bhagavad Gita, you can be rest assured there won't be any more birth, there won't be any more old age, there won't be any more disease, and there won't be any more death. Now you can find that sloka in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 16. Now, Arjuna was on the battlefield and he was about to engage in a war with his cousins. And he asked his chariot driver, Lord Krishna, could you please drive this chariot and position it in between both the armies of the Kurus and the armies of the Pandavas. And it was that time that Arjuna, upon seeing his friends and relatives, cousins, uncles, grandfather, etc., he declined to fight. And this is where Lord Krishna introduces the concept of Sanatan Dharma. Now, what is Sanatan Dharma? Sanatan Dharma is that eternal duty that's endowed upon us. That means that's something that you cannot escape. Now, most people may convert their religion from Muslim to Hinduism, from Muslim to Christian, from Christian to Muslim or Judaism. You may convert from one religion to another. But the one thing that you cannot change is your eternal duty. That's with you from the spiritual world and right down here in the material world. It's always with you. You cannot change that. Even the atheist cannot change what is naturally bound to them. That is the eternal dharma. Now, if you fulfill your dharma, which Arjuna was trying to move away from, he's a military expert, he's an excellent fighter, and he refused to fight, then the chances you will come back to this planet to take rebirth again and go through the entire process of birth, old age, disease, and death. And if you follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and stick to your dharma, which is your Sanatan Dharma, then there's a good chance that you will go to the Sanatan Dham, which is the holy land of God, and you can associate with him. So Sanatan Dharma cannot be changed. So when our path in ISKCON is a path of Sanatan Dharma, we are not Hindu, we are not Jew, we are not Christian, we are not Buddhist or Muslims. We are simply following the path of Sanatan Dharma. And Lord Krishna makes this very, very clear in the Bhagavad Gita. The other thing that Lord Krishna stresses in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the other topics, is about the Varna Ashrama system. Now he says, I created these 4 classes or divisions of society: the Brahmana class, the Kshatriya class, the Vaishya class, and the Sudra class. So Krishna says, I created these. Chaturvanayam Mahashristam Guru Guna Karma Vibhagasa. I created these 4 divisions. Now, one of the problems is that sometimes we have people with a spiritual background. They seem to take a different position on those people that are highly educated and are very wealthy or financially well endowed. And they do make some statements that your high education and your good position financially cannot help you, cannot help you. You know, you need to be miserable, you need to be in abject poverty, and that is your passport to the kingdom of God. Well, that is very contrary to what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. He is saying that I created this four division society, and it is expected that these four different groups will work in harmony with each other, and each one giving off the best. The Brahmana class with the intelligence will advise the administrators, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, the people who make the money, they will support the economic needs of the other classes, whereas the Sudras will provide the energy that's required to move the heavy goods around and do other kind of labor work. So all classes must coexist harmoniously. There is no discrimination against any one of the classes. So for those who are wealthy and highly educated, and women, which in some faiths may be reduced to a so-called lower level, they all have equal status within the eyes of Krishna. They all have an equal opportunity to go back to the kingdom of God. This is not restricted to purely the Brahmana class. This knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is open to all members of society, any race, any creed, any gender, etc. It's open to everybody. So that's another lesson of the Bhagavad Gita, is about its freedom from discrimination. Now, the big question is, well, how do I get started on the path back to God? And why do I need to go to this eternal kingdom? What is the motivation to go back to the eternal kingdom? Well, we know that we just said that people are spending billions of dollars to beautify themselves. Well, if they go back to the eternal kingdom, they will have an eternally beautiful body, spiritual body, that will not have any deterioration whatsoever. It'll be ever youthful and ever fresh and ever beautiful and everlasting. They will not have any birth. There won't be any death. That is why we need to go back to the eternal kingdom, which is our original home from where we hail. So Krishna says that to get started, you should attach yourself to a guide, a mentor, a spiritual mentor. And that person who has seen the truth will impart this knowledge unto you, and you serve him in a humble state of mind, and he will guide you back to the kingdom of God. So the first thing is to attach yourself to a spiritual master. And in Bhagavad Gita 4:34, Tat vini pranipatana parishpashnana sevaya upadeshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Now, also, there are some other codes in the Bhagavad Gita. The one big question is, how can I change my faith? How can I change? And the one thing is, most people in society said, we will accept whatever our faith is. It's written down. It cannot be changed. It cannot be changed at all. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you surrender unto him, he will free you from all past sinful reactions. So your faith can actually change if you surrender to the Lord. That means whatever past sinful actions were committed and the fruits of that action were waiting for you, they can be nullified by your surrender unto the Supreme Personality of God. And he guarantees that in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, just surrender to me and I will free you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. I promise you that. But that's a very broad statement. It's a very broad statement. Just surrender unto the Lord and everything will be okay. Well, that's part of the reality. There are other things that you must do. So I'm going to read you from chapter 9 in the Bhagavad Gita, a few slokas which you may want to follow. So Krishna says in chapter 9, verse 3, those who are not faithful in devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So here's another trick, another secret. You have to have explicit faith in the process, and that will guarantee you back to your home in the spiritual world. Otherwise, you come back and go through the whole process of birth, old age, disease, and death. So Krishna says another thing you have to do in chapter 9, verse 14, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. In Bhagavad Gita, text 22, chapter 9, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, I carry to them what they lack, and I preserve what they have. Text 26, this is all what Lord Krishna wants. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. So he's not asking for much. He's not asking, have some faith, always chant my glories. And if you're making an offering, I don't want too much. Give me a fruit, give me a flower, a leaf, or some water, I'll take it. But the bigger ingredient that's attached to that offering is your love and devotion. If you attach love and devotion, the Lord will go almost crazy. He'll want to help you in so many things. Text 27, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, or whatever you give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering unto me. So what Krishna is saying is throughout your existence, all you need to do is to simply remember him. And this is what you benefit by performing some of these activities. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and you will come to me. So these are great secrets of the Bhagavad Gita, how you can go back home and become free from all the miseries of life. And then he says, this teachings, O son of Krita, those who take shelter of me, though they be born of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, Sudras, they all can attain the supreme destination. And text 34, chapter 9, engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances unto me, worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So these are little secrets in chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita that gives hints of the types of things that you can do to go back home to the spiritual world. So if you really like this world and you're quite happy with it, then do as you please, but simply add the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as the least that you can do to give yourself a shot of trying to get a better deal in your next life. But if you really want to go back to Godhead, back home and have your beauty, your original wealth, your original opulence, your original everlastingness, then you can take to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So for today, that concludes my part of the session. And Sachit, if there's any questions, we can address that. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vaishnava Prabhu, thank you so much for the wonderful, that was a very, very nice and a brief discourse on the Bhagavad Gita that highlighted all the important parts that Lord Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. Right from what is Dharma, you explained that so nicely, giving different examples, and we are Sanatan Dharmis. Not only that, Vaishnava Prabhu, you mentioned about the wish of Lord Krishna and describing the different methods by a little faith, one can actually get a better destination. And at the end, we can all go back into the spiritual world in our original forms, where there is no birth, death, old age, and disease, which we are all subject to. And as we are seeing that the onslaught of Maya is so strong that in this material world, nobody is bereft of it, of the different miserable conditions. And we all know that for the last several months, we all have been confined. Our movements have been restricted, especially because of this pandemic called COVID-19. And like that, so many other different diseases that you had mentioned, which is definitely a part of the material world. It's a package that we cannot escape. But the only way that we can escape is by taking shelter of Lord Krishna. And the instructions of Bhagavad Gita are very preliminary and very important, fundamental in helping us get to a decent spiritual platform so that we can have faith in the holy name, in the Lord, in the service of the Vaishnavas that will simply take us home back to God. So thank you very much again, Prabhuji, for this wonderful, short and sweet discourse. If anybody has any questions or any reflections, your microphone is now unmuted. I would request you all to just come in one at a time so that we don't talk over each other. If somebody else has unmuted prior to you, then let them speak first. And if I see them, I will call them out. That way we can all, in harmony, enjoy each other's association. So please go ahead and unmute your microphone and direct any questions to His Grace, Vaishnava Dasa Prabhu. And if you have any reflections, comments, you might as well do that as well. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anybody, please? All you have to do is unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Smaran Mataji.
Dandvat Pranam Prabhu. All
Yeah.
glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, I don't have a question. Just wanted to say thanks to Vaishnava Prabhu for such a nice and beautiful class about the contents and message of Bhagavad Gita. I'm so happy to be here. I want to congratulate all of you for this such a nice initiative, creating such wonderful another ISKCON center in Niagara Falls in New Year. I mean, this is the best thing in the new year.
Mataji, I'd just like to say on behalf of ISKCON Niagara Falls that we appreciate your blessings. And hopefully when the vaccinations are out and everyone's all safe and secure and our premises are up and running, please come and perform your kirtan and bring your family down so we can all enjoy Prabhupada's nectar.
Yes, Prabhu, definitely. I can't wait to be at the center and see all of you. It's been such a long time. We have been away from the devotees, though we are joining them on the online sessions, but it's hard to see them face to face. So sure, I would love to be there.
We pray. I'm sure that's going to be very soon. very soon.
Definitely, definitely, Prabhu. I'm so positive.
You know, matras pasas tu kunteya, sita sina sukha dukada, that all these things are fleeting. Summer and winter, they come and go. Happiness and distress come and go. So will the COVID.
Hari Bol, Jai. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Krishna Smaran Mataji. Is there anybody else that would like to ask Prabhuji a question? Any clarifications that are required? Questions are always good. Sometimes we have a question that can also benefit the other listeners. And that's what questions and answers is all what Bhagavad Gita is. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam is. So many scriptures are full of wonderful questions and answers. And whenever we ask a question with the proper mood and the demeanor, it not only benefits us, but it also benefits the rest of the listeners. So I would encourage, if there's anybody who would like to go ahead and ask a question or reflections.
Satyat, I'd like to pose a question that's in the minds of everybody today.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Half the population of the world do not want to take the COVID vaccine. Another half of them will say, yes, we will take it. Is there a Vedic perspective on this?
It's a very good question. And I can only answer it based on my understanding of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, in a very nutshell, I've mentioned this verse many times. Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Tad Bhakti Ruttam. It's a part of the Anya Bilashita verse. Whatever is conducive to Krishna, one should do. Now, from the Vedic perspective, obviously we're talking about a Krishna conscious perspective. So in a Krishna conscious perspective, yes, a devotee should take care of one's health. Keep oneself as fit as possible so that they can do better service. No matter how much service we do, it is not sufficient. Like Prahlad Maharaj, his wish was when he was offered Vaikuntha, when he was offered liberation by Lord Nrsimhadev upon being so pleased on him, he refused that. And he said that all I want to do is serve my spiritual master, Narad Muni. There are so many people in this material world who are bereft of Krishna consciousness. Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. They do not know ultimately that their own well-being is Vishnu or Krishna. Nate vidu. Vidu means to know. So if anybody understands that principle, high principle of seva or bhakti, what pleases Krishna the most, which also in the Bhagavad Gita, in the last chapter it is mentioned, that one who explains this secret of Bhagavad Gita is most dear to me, neither in the past, nor in the present, nor in the future. Such a devotee. There are two such verses that Krishna describes, who is most dear to Krishna. So our goal is being dear to Krishna. And we can only perform our services well if we keep our health fit. And that requires whatever it takes to keep our health fit. That may include taking injections or antidotes for the virus, etc. Even Srila Prabhupada in the 1966s, he was admitted in the hospital there. Although it was not his wish, but it was the devotees pleading that, without you, Prabhupada, we won't be able to advance. And Prabhupada took that spirit. Of course, it was a leela to see how the devotees feel about their spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada, was admitted to the hospital, and he went through all the different treatments that were given by the doctors. And then obviously, he also recommended for himself, what is good for my health is good sun. Good sunlight is good. And then later on, every day Srila Prabhupada would take a very nice, a sunbathe, bathing, because he wanted to do a lot of things for Krishna by keeping himself, fit. So he even accepted the services of his disciples, like massages. He was an old man. To keep his body fit, he accepted that. So it will not only benefit the renderer of the service, but also, it would benefit the whole world when His Divine Grace was fit enough to travel and preach this Krishna consciousness. So in whatever little way we are able to, if we keep our body and mind and body and soul together, as long as the Supreme Lord has destined us to, and if we are able to utilize Risikena Risikesha Sevanam, Tad Bhaktir Uttama, whatever our senses are known as Rishik, and Esh is the master. So one of the names of Sri Krishna is Rishikesh. And what should we do? Risikena Risikesha Sevanam. We should serve Sri Krishna, who is the master of all the senses, known as Rishikesh, with our Rishik, with our senses. So personally, I don't see anything wrong in taking the antidote or the what you call the vaccination, especially if one is a devotee and if one wants to get, because we have lost a lot of devotees also. Some very good stalwart devotees to COVID. And at that time, there was no vaccination available. I lost my spiritual master, Bhakti Charu Swami, who was an amazing servant of Srila Prabhupada. And he could have done much more if he was still here. So the point is, and not only him, many other very, very advanced Vaishnavas in our movement, we lost to COVID because either the proper medication was not available at that time, or the care. But now that the hope is there, and now that the millions and millions of vials of COVID vaccination is being distributed, and when it becomes available, I don't think we should step back. The moment it is available, we should all take it so that we can all stay healthy. And that is from the Krishna conscious perspective. From the material perspective, if one loves their family, their children, then obviously, they want you to live long enough. Ask those people who have lost their next of kin or the most dear ones, how they are feeling right now. Obviously, it is on a material platform, a much lower consciousness when we say that, but it's still, at the end of the day, it is klesha to the jiva. It is a lot of misery and pain to the jiva. And when a jiva is in a lot of pain, and when you tell them, come to the temple, or come take to this Krishna consciousness, or chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, perhaps they're not even going to absorb it, or not even going, they may have already developed some kind of an agnostic attitude, some kind of a atheistic attitude towards God, because if they have gone through so much misery, thinking that there is no God. So it is for persons like us, especially those who are the sincere followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, to do whatever it takes within our means. If one is a good cook, cook nice bhoga, and the prasadam can be distributed. One is a good speaker, please speak about Krishna Katha, speak about philosophy, keep yourself fit enough that you can constantly do your services. One that does kirtan, nice kirtan, please chant the holy names of the Lord, attract the people to the lotus feet of the Lord. So, but for that, one cannot do it in a hospital bed, or one who is in a very precarious condition where one cannot even save themselves. How are they going to even save others or serve Sri Krishna or serve others? So in my personal opinion, yes, if a vaccine is available, those who are not willing to take it, everybody has got free will. Krishna has given everybody anu swatantrata. Anu means minute, and swatantrata means independence. So if we choose to do something, it is on our own onus. But again, when we are under the guidance of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, then we have to take that guidance. And the general guidance is, please keep yourself fit. It's very important to keep yourself fit so that you can serve Sri Krishna. That is the ultimate goal. Not for the self, but it is for the service of Sri Krishna. One line that I'm reminded of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying, Tomar sevai jadi kashta jadi hoy, shahi to parama sukha. In your service, my dear Krishna, even if I have to go through a lot of miseries, no issues with that. I will consider that as param sukha, as the topmost happiness for me, or bliss for me. So one need not keep the body fit just for sense gratification. If that is the case, then the entire purpose of human life is lost. But if it is used wherever you are, Swargeshu, Narkeshu, Apavargeshu, Wherever one is situated, whether in this middle planetary system, whether in the lower planetary system, whether in the upper planetary system, or whether even in Vaikuntha, which is called Apavarga, wherever one is situated, one should be able to serve the Supreme Lord. That is the goal. That is Sanatan Dharma, which the Vaishnava Das Prabhu started when he started with the lecture. What is Sanatan? We are not Hindus, we are not Muslims, we are not Jewish, we are not this, we are not that. Then who are we? We are eternal servants of Sri Krishna, Radha and Krishna. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayo Dasanu Dasanu Das. Servants of the servants of the servants of Sri Krishna. That is our constitutional position, whether we are in the material world or we get liberated and we get the opportunity to go home back to Godhead in Vaikuntha Lokas or even in the topmost planet Golok Vrindavan. So I think this is my perspective, my understanding, Prabhuji. Since you asked, I'm sharing it very sincerely. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Sachit, because that's a big topic, big debate right now that's going on within ISKCON and outside of ISKCON as well, about taking this vaccination. Some are promoting, do not take it. Some are promoting, do take it. But you put on a very good, case for taking the vaccination, because the intelligence that's afforded the scientists to make those vaccinations comes from Lord Krishna himself.
Yes.
And all living entities are the creation or the children of Lord Krishna. He has to protect his family. And this is one of the ways that he's doing it, through the intelligence of those scientists that are making these vaccines. So you can take a chance at it. You can, just like the Bhagavad Gita, you can accept the teachings or you may not accept the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. That is entirely your choice, right? But there's a greater advantage if you accept the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. At least, if it's all true, you will make your way back to the heavenly kingdom spiritual world, right?
True.
But if you go the other direction, well, you cut your odds drastically of ever going back to the spiritual. Similarly, if there's no vaccine, then what are we going to do? A herd mentality and hopefully survival of the fittest and lose some of the greatest people on this planet, and hopefully a few will survive in that case? No, that doesn't make sense. The Vedas state that this Kali Yuga will move on for another 435 or 450,000 years. That shows for sure the COVID vaccine is the solution, because the human race must survive.
Yes.
According to Vedic text.
Yes. Not only that, one quick point, Rupa Goswami says everything can be used in Krishna's service. Krishna Sambandha Vairagya Uchyate. So
Yes.
everything that we have, we can use it in Krishna's service, including the modes of survival that will help us in developing advancing our own Krishna consciousness. If we are alive and we are healthy, then we can concentrate our minds on the lotus feet of Krishna. Like King Kulashekara, if you have read that book, Mukundamala Stotra, wonderful prayers of King Kulashekara, he's saying that, my dear Krishna, right now I'm healthy and my mind is healthy, but when I become sick and when everything in my body with the kapha pitta vayu, the cough, the bile and the mucus, when it is imbalanced, and at that time I may not be very sure if I will be able to remember you, O Krishna, whether I will be able to remember your Lord. So when I'm healthy, please indeed let the mind, the swan of my mind, be wrapped around your lotus feet. So yes, being healthy is a very important part of being Krishna conscious. Thinking that, oh, Krishna will take care of me even if I die and this and that. Yes, it's true, he will. But why give kashta to Krishna? Like another example, Vaishnava Prabhu, if you will allow me, Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami was he had taken a vow of doing Govardhan Parikrama every day, twice a day. Now, Govardhan Parikrama from Radhakund back to Radhakund is 23 kilometers. Every day, 23 kilometers. Those who have done Govardhan Parikrama by foot, they know that it takes a good, for somebody who is of middle level of health, it takes a good 7 to 8 hours to complete that parikrama. And the youngest of the young boys, they take about 5 hours or 6 hours to complete that parikrama. And at the end of the parikrama, your feet are tired. You're so much, there are sores and so many bodily afflictions happen after a parikrama of that size. Can you imagine Sanatana Goswami doing that every day until he was so old that he could barely walk, but he had taken a vow. At that time, Krishna felt a lot of pain in his heart. Krishna was crying that look at my devotee Sanatan, even in this old age. No. This must stop. I can understand your level of consciousness, but you have done enough. You cannot, but you can barely walk. So he offered him a Govardhan Shila with his own footprint, with his own print of his flute and a calf's footprint, which today, if you go to Radha Damodar temple in Seva Kunj, in Vrindavan, that footprint is still there to take darshan of. So he said, you do parikrama 4 times of the Shila, and that means we would have achieved Govardhan parikrama. And because of Sanatana Goswami, those who take the parikrama of the Radha Damodar temple, the deities, where Srila Prabhupada stayed for 5 years before coming to the United States, one gets the benefit of Govardhan parikrama. So the point being that we do not want to see Krishna, and Sanatana Goswami agreed to that. He could have easily said that I've taken a vow to do full Govardhan parikrama, I don't need your Shila. But because that was giving pain to Sri Krishna. Krishna was pain. Sanatana Goswami saw how painful Krishna was, seeing him in this condition. So the devotee's duty at that time is, what will give Krishna happiness? Another example quickly. My grandmother, she was a great Vaishnavi, in the Pushtimarg, in the Vallabh Sampradaya. And sometimes when somebody would cry, my grandmother would say, don't cry. That will give kashta to Srinathji. Srinathji will become unhappy if he sees his devotee cry. So for the sake of the Supreme Lord, do not cry. Do not shed a tear. Otherwise he will become morose. And our whole idea is to make him happy. So that is why Srila Prabhupada coined these wonderful, 2 beautiful words that I'd never come across. Even prior coming to ISKCON, I used to read many different philosophical books and many other scriptures whenever I got the opportunity. But I never come across these 2 words. Even many theologians, God consciousness of Krishna consciousness. And that is at the end of the day, whatever we do, that it should be Krishna conscious. What is our consciousness at the end of the day? Whatever activities we do. Sometimes they may look pretty, in nature, they may look controversial. But if the heart is clean and it is only meant to please Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, then it is perfect in all respects. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you. Thank you very much, Sachidananda. I think we should move on to our next closing kirtan and conclude the program with some nice vibrations, Krishna conscious vibrations. So for the closing kirtan, I'm going to introduce Sachidananda to perform our closing kirtan, and that will conclude the class for today.